Thank you for joining us on African Free Press Television for stories in the news this week. I am Momo Basi. As Nigerian Muslims join their counterparts across the world to commemorate this year's Eid al-Kabir celebrations, President Muhammadu Buhari this week declared that national security remains a priority and other security agencies provide maximum security across the nation, especially in areas vulnerable to terrorist attack. The president also charged Muslims to display patience, fortitude, tolerance, endurance, patriotism, and a greater willingness to make Nigeria great. On September 23, 2015, Nigeria imposed tight movement restrictions in the restive northeast after Boko Haram bombings that killed more than 100, raised fears of fresh attacks over the al-Adha festival. Chairman of All Progressive Congress (APC), Chief John Odigie-Oyegun, on Wednesday said that the party's primary for the December 5th governorship election in Bayelsa State has been rescheduled. Odigie-Oyegun told reporters in Abuja that the primary, earlier scheduled for Tuesday, September 22nd, was cancelled due to security challenges, adding that the leadership of the party would meet to choose a new date for the exercise. Confirming the postponement of the primaries, Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Timi Frank, said that the primary did not hold in Bayelsa on Tuesday. According to Frank, fracas made the exercise, but one of the aspirants and former governor of the state, Timi Pre Silva, held a member of the committee under duress to declare him winner of the exercise. Meanwhile, former Bayelsa State Governor Chief Timi Pre Silva has described as a deliberate act of mischief and lies claims by the Edo State Governor, Comrade Adams Oshomole, that he truncated the electoral process during the disputed governorship primaries of the All Progressive Congress (APC) in the state. According to him, though the Edo State Governor was the chairman of the election committee and had left the venue of the primaries, the election would lead to his emergence as the flag bearer of the party was free, fair, and without violence, as claimed by the Edo State Governor Adams Oshomole. Leader of the Movement of Actualization of Sovereign State of Biafra, MASOB, Chief Rap Wazurike, on Wednesday declared that the activities of MASOB could not be banned because it has the backing of the United Nations and Charter of Indigenous Peoples' Rights to Self-Determination. Wazurike, who spoke in reaction to the purported ban on MASOB activities in Anambra State by the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Hosea Kama, advised the police to study the United Nations Charter Article 1 and 2 to Indigenous Peoples' Rights. Speaking through the Deputy National Director for Information, Mazi Chris Mocha, and MASOB leader explained the UN General Assembly had on September 13, 2007 adopted a resolution calling for the recognition of world's 370 million people's rights to self-determination. The UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon welcomed Thursday the reinstatement of Burkina Faso's interim leader Michael Kafando and transitional institution after coup leaders stood down, stating that the resumption of the political process will enable Burkina Faso to hold presidential and legislative elections in accordance with the country's constitution and transitional charter. The West African nation's elite presidential guard on September 16 detained Kafando, acting Prime Minister Yakuba Isaac Sida, and two other government ministers, announcing a coup the following day. The military regime led by General Gilbert Diendere came under strong pressure to quit the United Nations, former colonial power France, Washington, the African Union, and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, which mediated the resolution to the crisis. Office of the National Security Advisor has issued a security alert on the likelihood of Boko Haram attacks on Lagos seaport. The alert was as a result of concern expressed by the United Nations Embassy on the security situation of the nation's seaport. The security alert was signed by Assistant Comptroller General of Customs in charge of Enforcement and Intelligence, Mr. Dan Ugu, on behalf of Comptroller General Colonel Ahmed Ali, retired. Security alert: Nigerian Customs Service has begun restrictions of persons into various commands and formations in Lagos. The development has brought about an increase in the level of security checks at all access points into the ports. Since last week, a long queue of clearing agents has resurfaced at the Nigerian Port Authority's gates, where thorough checks were conducted before access is granted. At least 717 people taking part in the Hajj pilgrimage have been killed in a stampede near the Islamic holy city of Mecca. Another 863 people were injured in the incident at Mina, which occurred as 2 million pilgrims were taking part in the Hajj last major rite. They converged on Mina to throw stones at a pillar representing the devil. Preparations for the Hajj were made when a crane collapsed at Mecca's Grand Mosque this month, killing 109 people. It is the deadliest incident to occur during the Hajj in 25 years. Pilgrims traveled to Mina, a large valley about 5 kilometers from Mecca, during the Hajj to throw 7 stones at a pillar called Jamarat, which represents the devil. The pillars stand at 3 spots where Satan is believed to have tempted the prophet Abraham. The pilgrims were walking towards a 5-story structure which surrounds the pillars known as Jamarat Bridge. Security personnel and Saudi Red Crescents were immediately deployed to prevent more people heading towards the area, the directorate said. The police in Borno State of Nigeria has confirmed that 54 people were killed and over 95 injured in the multiple explosions that hit Maiduguri, the state capital, on Sunday night. Police Public Relations Officer Victor Isuku said the attacks bore the hallmark of suspected Boko Haram insurgents. No group has, however, claimed responsibility for the action. Isuku said the suspected Boko Haram terrorists simultaneously detonated 4 separate improvised explosive devices at a mosque and a viewing center at al-Adha T-junction of Maiduguri metropolis. Pope Francis has become the first pontiff to address a joint meeting of the U.S. Congress, where he received a warm welcome from more than 500 lawmakers, justices, and officials. He was greeted at the U.S. Capitol by Speaker of the House John Boehner, who is Catholic, and then entered the chambers to a thunderous applause. His speech repeated his opposition to the death penalty and abortion, and emphasized the importance of welcoming immigrants. He said the world is facing a refugee crisis of a magnitude not seen since World War II, and noted that thousands travel north into the U.S. for a better life every year. Former Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Chieftain of Pan-Yoruba Group, Afenifere, Chief Olufadaye, has been released by his abductors. Fadaye was released Thursday, although it was not clear at first time whether a ransom was paid for his freedom. The politician was kidnapped by gunmen from his farm in Ilado village, Akure, Ondo State, on Monday. They demanded a 100 million ransom for his freedom and later reduced it to 90 million. No fewer than 3,000 houses and farmlands have submerged in Makurdi and other riverine communities in Benue State following the overflow of the river Benue. The flood has displaced scores of persons in the agrarian communities, just as it has damaged properties worth millions of nairas, including cars and food items. Water from the river Benue has run over the coast and has completely covered the houses. That's the stories in the news this week. For more, you can visit our website at www.africanfreepress.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook at African Free Press. I am Momo Basi. Have a wonderful week.